Hello, Henry here. I'm going to do a presentation for you today. We're going to go through the PowerPoint slide for Kingdom's Tale. I've just finished doing the pitch deck. Some of the images aren't working when I share the slides, so that's why I'm going to do the video as well. So let's jump into it. So, set in the late 1800s, learn to adapt, grow, and expand in this fun, exciting adventure simulation open world base building survival game. So the introduction, Kingdom's Tale is set in a fantasy world around the mid to late 1800s, and it's an open world survival building simulation type game where anything is possible. The entire ocean is traversable, and you can find new land with new materials, and you can scavenge those materials to grow your kingdom. And everything in the world is interactable. You can scavenge wood, you can scavenge rocks, you can scavenge ores, and a lot more than that as well. And you can use all of the things that you scavenge to start your journey by creating a campsite anywhere in the world. And once you've created this campsite, you can actually start to expand the campsite into a hamlet by recruiting nearby villagers. So once you'll go into other villages and trading, you can say to this person, hey, will you come and live at the campsite that I have or the settlement? I need someone who has blacksmith skills. And they will come and join you if your reputation points are there. And that will unlock the ability to be able to use blacksmithing, build blacksmith buildings or camps, depending on the size of your settlement, and be able to kind of utilize the skills as well. So you'll be able to unlock the ability to smelt ores and stuff like that. Once you've established, you'll learn about the stocks and trades in the continents because, as I said, it's an open world environment. Our first map, Myriad, which is 15 by 15 square kilometers, has 14 different regions. And inside of those 14 different regions, there are 14 different tree types. So each region grows its own kind of resource. You will have a silver ore in Brackenshire, and you will have a oak trees grow, so that's the wood and the ore that you would collect. If you go and sell Brackenshire traders oak wood or ore, it's going to be less expensive. Like, you're not going to get as much money back because you're trading in the same region that these stocks and the markets collect from anyway. They will have their own traders that collect. So the idea is to go to one region, scavenge your resources, throw it all onto the back of a cart, and then take it in a horse and cart to another village and sell it there as well. You can also raise animals, breed animals, you can fish, you can hunt, there's botany, there's crafting, there's felling trees, there's farming goods and mining ores, and a lot more as well. And the main goal of the game is to expand and interact and create and enjoy the endless possibilities. Is to create and just grow this empire, this kingdom as your own. And you start off with a campsite and grow it into a hamlet, and then into a town, and then a village, and then finally a really big expansive city that has trading points set up across the world. You can achieve anything that you desire with the goods and the materials. Instead of the boring old here's a tree, let's cut it down, we've got a more extensive system that produces different visuals and durable woods as well, which means that when you're going to these other places to gather these woods, they're going to have a different durability, which means that when you're building your base and your settlement, you're going to want to have the best durable resources that you can use. And it also visually changes the aesthetic of your entire campsite as well. So I'll go on to the next slide, and you can see here we've kind of got a quick visual set up. So we've got the visuals in the middle, which is kind of our environments. We have rain, snow, fog, overcast days. We have thunderstorms, and they really interact with our environment as well and make you feel very immersed into this. So if you're looking at the Sea of Thieves traversal type system that we have in place, when you're going across the sea and you're seeing this thunder and this lightning and this entire environment blowing up, it's really breathtaking. So on the right, you can see the image there. We have a visual fidelity or a vertical slice of what our buildings are going to look like for the Tudor era. Now, obviously, this is set in a fantasy world, so there's no specific type, but we're trying to keep to like the 1880s, Victorian, Tudor, Georgian times buildings, depending on where you are in the world. Obviously, as you traverse and progress into another part of the continent or another part of the ocean, there will be different themes. You'll find Asian themed buildings or American themed buildings, depending on where you go. And then on the left, we have kind of like the dense vegetation that we're trying to incorporate into this as well. And just on the bottom of the screen there, you'll see our base building set up. So on the left, you will see a ghost shell of a building, and then you will see the foundation once you place it where you want. Then once you have the foundation, you build the actual shell, and then you start building the walls, the roof, until everything is built. As well as having a base building system for prefabricated buildings, we also have a base building system for single individual floor foundations and walls that you can slot up together and build your own buildings as well. So it's not just set for that, but we do have a very, very extensive base building system for the prefabs and a lot of variation for you to be able to grow your towns. Moving on to the expanse, again, what I was talking about expanse area on, you can start with a small campsite, which you will see down here in the corner. You can expand that settlement into a town, into a hamlet. Hamlet is the big one over here. You can see it's a small kind of village where you only have 6 to 8 buildings, maybe 10 buildings. Once you get out of that 12 buildings, you start to expand into a village where you can grow it, and you get to about 25 buildings, and you expand into a town, etc., etc. So once we look into this, the overview of the mechanics, the 3 core genres that we aim to fill as well is adventure, base building, and simulation. So we aim to be able to traverse across the world and have this adventure. It's going to be very, very story driven and very rich in the story as well. Like I said before, with the fidelity that we're looking at, we're looking to aim our visuals to be on par with Red Dead Redemption 2, which we've already got vertical slices that say that we can hit that. And with the mechanics of the adventure side of it as well, it's similar to the story that drags out and pulls across all of these different land types where you can learn a lot more about yourself and the world that you're playing in. So we also have the simulation, which is the farming and the growing and raising your own village and having these villagers live on your farmland and develop and progress. They will be assigned their own tasks. So you can have an arborist who goes and cuts down trees for you and brings them back to the site. Also known as a lumberjack, but arborist brings more additional features. So you can actually prune trees in your own settlement. You can, really shape the environment that you're in. And you can have your own villagers farm and raise animals for you as well, fish, and do all of the things that you can do. The players will be able to gather rocks, sticks, mine, ores, diamonds, fell trees, and collect different durable woods based on their systems as well. You can expand the settlement, like I said. Players will face an ever-growing economy. Gathering from nearby towns and regions will affect the sales price of resources. Traversing the seas is the best way to be able to gather new resources and then bring them back and start selling them. You'll also be able to have your village attack. So if you go away and you have a very, very low durable wood built into your campsite, it can come under attack and you can come back to just the chaos of everything being, I can't remember the word off the top of my head, but dilapidated. It will be completely broken down and you will have to repair and rebuild everything. So you will learn early on in the game that this is a mechanic that you need to make sure that you have right. Early on in the game, we will purposely destroy what you have so that you learn that you're going to need stronger durable woods to be able to progress. This is an example of the mining system that we have in place at the moment. Now, every single skill has a skill tree that comes with it, and there's 5 tiers or stages to this progression. So we have all the way up to mastery, as well as advanced and experienced and an intermediate and a beginner. And each stage you'll learn to attain more ore and different types of ores, and you can see the interaction with the system that we have here as well. So this is another mechanic of the base building, just so you can see. So it's not a case of you place down a building and then it's done. You place down the ghost, and you have to have the required items to be able, or the required resource to be able to build these systems. Now, this is a first early pass on this. We do have a more progressed version, so we will do other videos and upload them as well. We're going to try and be as visible and as opaque as possible to all of the community so that they can see what we do and get input as well, because we really want to make this a community-driven game. So the overview of progression, as you can see in the top right corner, this is our first island or continent, Myriad. And you can see down here slightly the map. We should have made that more visible. I do apologize. So Myriad is our first continent that is explorable. 14 different regions. Each region has its own resource, mining and felling. Each region has also multiple or single settlements that you can trade with, and be careful though, because when you're trading with nearby resources, the settlement can also gather those resources from nearby, so it substantially will reduce the amount of money that you'll get for it. As well as continents, you'll be able to travel across the sea and find other islands and continents as well, where you can find new resources to collect and scavenge and either bring back or sell there as well. Obviously, if you bring them back, more money, and that gives us the ability to be able to actually load your ship up with goods. So you will load up your ships, and you'll bring them back, and you'll take them off of the ships at the docks, and you'll load them onto your horse and carts, and you'll carry them to the trading points. So there's a lot of immersion involved in this as well. Because with over 300 hours of main story, there's never a dull moment in how the player can immerse themselves into the story behind Edward Hargrave's mission to release his family name of disdain and dishonor by building his own trade in the city. And throughout the journey, you'll meet new people that you can recruit. And again, they will have their own individual skills. So recruiting a blacksmith will unlock the ability to use blacksmith tools, build blacksmith settlements and smelt ores, and much more. Same with the botanist, you'll be able to unlock buildings such as greenhouses, and you'll be able to expand your fields and have more orchards. Throughout your journey, you'll develop all of these skills needed to progress for a small settlement into a huge trading capital, partnering with villages and towns that are nearby and setting up trade deals. Now, this goes backwards too. You can actually get into a false reputation point with a certain town or village, and they will not like you at all. If you walk through their village, they'll start throwing food at you and rocks. Because they don't like you. So you need to be careful and make sure that you have a positive reputation points when you go through these places. As you progress through your development stages, you'll unlock new features, new characters, and new missions, and each mission will bring you one step closer to having your own trade city. The constant battle during this process against nearby settlements will make it hard, but worth the try. Being able to find stronger, more durable resources through exploration is key to building a great future. It also helps with the visuals. So here is the first pass on our skill tree system. We're still going. We're still proving this out. It's not the final. But this is sort of what you're looking at for the skill tree. You'll have animal husbandry. Each skill tree will have its own enterable area that you can have animal husbandry. And inside of the animal husbandry, you'll have 5 different tiers. And depending on the tier, you'll be able to look after specific animals, or your villagers will be able to look after specific animals. And it will expand over time. Or if you find someone who's a master at this particular skill set, then that's a good way to bring them in as well. The skill tree is still whip. Each person you recruit into your settlement will bring you a new skill to use. You have 5 tiers. I've gone through that. So again, the story, just an overview. I'm not going to bore you with the details and read all over this, but it's for you to look at. Once upon a time in the Boston streets of Victoria, England, lived a poor, destitute merchant named Edward Hargrave. Born into a prestigious family, Edward had inherited nothing but the weight of a forgotten legacy. His family had been disdained and just spat upon, and now they're losing everything that they've had, and it's his chance to be able to bring this back. New player experience. When you first start the game, you'll start with a good amount of skills and resources, which gets the player familiar with some of the more extensive features first before losing everything and starting fresh. So the player will start by developing their own campsite. They'll be more towards the end of that stage, so they'll be able to develop into a hamlet, and they will be handheld by an NPC through the first start of the game, and it will be, come on, let's go and collect these trees, let's go and take these trees over and build a small tent over here, let's take the extra additional stuff and we're going to go to a nearby village and sell it, so you'll get to ride on a horse and cart and take the things around. And then when you're at the village, you'll recruit a couple of new villagers who will come back, and at that point you now expand into a hamlet and you unlock new buildings that you can upgrade all your campsites with or tear it down and start fresh. There'll be different levels as well for the kind of players that want to play, because we will have sword fighting and gun fighting and wild animal hunting as well. So it depends on what the player wants. Do they want a more relaxed gameplay where they're just base building and building an empire, or do they want to be involved in the raids and in that kind of aggressive environment as well? So there's going to be multiple different player modes. And by taking the features from other successful games and merging them, we're not bringing something new, we're just adapting and extending. We're trying to make something stronger that players are going to like. This goes back to a game that I was playing, Medieval Dynasty, where I was very, very into the game, but it was very, very minimal in terms of variety, and it was addictive, but at the same time it got boring quickly. And this is where we want to find the niche gap of trying to fill that boredom with more variety, so the player can go for longer and find more to do. So we're going to bring audiences from other backgrounds into the genre as well by aiming to have the visual fidelity of Red Dead Redemption 2. Hopefully the players are going to really want to play these breathtaking environments that are just going to be blowing their minds when they see the visual graphics and the environments reacting with each other, as well as the Sea of Thieves players who love just sailing across the seas and getting into gunship battles and other explorational tactics. And then obviously the medieval dynasty, forest, rust, base building, survival systems as well, where it all relies on them scavenging and growing. So the game scope and modes. The standard campaign should not take more than 50 to 100 hours of gameplay. Through this process and journey, the campaign will be more developing, tent and campsite to a full-scale thing. Once we get to 100 hours of gameplay, we will then add an additional DLC where you can get another 200 hours of gameplay, expanding, trading, and building relationships, as well as missions internally. So, for instance, one of them is to have your own heir. So it's to meet someone, court them, marry them, have your heir, and raise them as well. The campaign will be from developing the campsites to full site setups, the base building elements to this game, as well as hundreds of variations of each building that you can use, and furniture piece and clothing will give the players a continuous thirst for wanting more. And that goes back to what I was saying earlier on about the fact that we have already in the 14 regions 14 different trees, and out of those 14 different trees, each one looks visually different. So we have mahogany, we have redwood, we have cedar wood, we have oak and hazel. So each of these gives you a different visual look. So when you're building your furniture set for your house, or whether you're building a Tudor house that has a wooden exterior, or a log house, they will give you different visual looks based on what you're building. So the player will be able to customize their campsites and their settlements a lot more by having this variation. And so the free modes of gameplay will be free play, campaign, and we do aim to actually have multiplayer working eventually as well. Hopefully by the alpha we will have a first pass on the multiplayer done. So the community engagement. What I'm looking at here is having the studio 100% transparent and open source. So we invite the players to look into what we're doing development-wise. They can see a day-to-day basis of our input and our meetings and our conversations and how we actually problem solve and come up with the ideas for creating the game. We'll also give the players and the community a sense of achievement and involvement through this process by listening to their ideas and their input. And if it's a good idea and input, we'll implement it as well. We have a Discord set up where we keep our development team involved, so we don't use Teams and we don't use Slack. We just use Discord, and the development area and the dev channels are 100% open to the public. They can see what we're doing, they can see our engagement and our conversations, but they can't talk in those channels. There is general channels that they can all talk into, and then once we get to a phase 2 funding style, after we've got publishers involved and we have an alpha, we will release a Kickstarter similar to like Cloud Imperium's Star Citizen. And the idea is to give the player the choice of the abilities to gain DLC and in-game special content and feedback, and if for higher prices, having them come and have their head scans and be put into the player game as an NPC or even a playable character in the DLC. So there's a lot that we can engage the community with as well. I'm going to skip over that. That's our team, but that's a special one. You'll have to meet us all to learn about us. But one thing I will say is our team is very big and very extensive. We have 56 years of experience between us and over 50 titles released successfully AAA. So we know what we're doing, and from what I'm doing personally to what I'm doing at work, I'm in a similar position in the space of 7 weeks compared to a year and a half. And that's how driven I am at getting this game made. So the build and the video, we're currently in the process of creating a build and a playable demo. However, we have external links visually demonstrating some of these features working. You've seen some of these features earlier on with the mining system and the felling of trees and the base building system as well. And like I said, we're currently developing the playable prototype and we have a lot of features. We're missing a few people though. Our team is very strong. We have two lead artists, a creative director. We have a lead UI artist, a lead character artist. We will have a lead animator come on once the funding is on board. And we have a blueprint engineer, but we don't have a programmer. So we need to get this programmer in to look at the AI side of things, which is why we're looking at funding. But in terms of a market fit, like I said several times now, we've looked at our competitors in depth. As players and developers, we know where their weak points are and where our strengths can be and where to strengthen. So we aim to have visuals of Red Dead Redemption 2. We've already managed to get a vertical slice of our buildings, and now we want the team in place so we can implement the environment vertical slices as well. So that means we're just trying to get a few more environment artists on the team so that we can extend it, which is why we're looking for funding. Traversals. So again, you can traversal the land by horse and cart, or just horse if you want. And we aim to have a Sea of Thieves style traversal system across the ocean as well, where you can sail ships, jump out, swim in the sea, find other islands, get involved in those islands and extend them there as well. You can literally build campsites anywhere you want in the world. And then also the forest, so we aim to have the functionality of the scavenging systems and the base building systems, utilizing the world to collect and gather the resources to aid in the progression and expansion of our settlements. So over here we've got Red Dead Redemption, Sea of Thieves and the Forest and their gross revenues. We tried to get the active first year of sales, but it's hard to get that information. So from the units sold of Red Dead Redemption, the gross revenue, I think the average price at the time was $19.99, but it kept going up and down. Sea of Thieves, the active players and the revenue sold over here. So most of them are using about 200 million revenue and over 1 million units sold. And even the Forest here did quite well compared to like Red Dead Redemption and Sea of Thieves in the fact they had a gross revenue of 161 million and 13 million units sold. We're estimating to sell our game at $29.99, but it's negotiable. We're still looking. And obviously we have the alpha and the beta and everything else as well. And the more that we know, the better. So we're looking between 2 million to 5 million for 2 years full of production. Advertising and marketing as well. We want to at least put £1 million into advertising and marketing to make sure that we have that ability to be able to actually extend our reach and find the customers and the gamers who want to actually get involved with this as well. We want to make sure that we reach all of those people. We're not just going to go and pay a lot of high budget, high end streamers to play our game and be like, yeah, this is the best thing ever. We want to hit the middle market. We want to hit the middle streamers who have the loyal players who watch what they play and join in with them as well. We want to hit those markets and give them a bit of money as well, because we want to, have a community driven game and be a community, and this is how we do this, is by working together. So we have no experience in doing the console port, so we do require a publisher to be able to do this. We're using Unreal Engine 5.1. We're not using 5.2 yet, just because it's not ready. It's still in a beta stage, and if we get a good enough team, maybe we'll port it over. We've attached the first pass spreadsheet of the estimations, the costs, and the amount the developers will need to get for a final release. We aim to finish Kingdom's Tale by 2025 November. However, we also aim to release by November 2024 as an alpha, so a playable, where we can get feedback from the community of what works well, what doesn't work well, to find the kinks and iron them out. And again, that entire process will be done with the community. So it's not a case of we're just going to release a game and leave it. We're going to work with the community to extend it. The game will be localized, and we'll have a worldwide and all platform rights. We have worldwide and all platform licensing rights for our game as well. One thing that we do look at doing is once we've finished Kingdom's Tale and it's released and it's stable and we're building a community, we will actually take on a second team to polish and optimize Kingdom's Tale so that we can look at releasing onto Switch consoles and maybe even mobile as well. So there's a lot of future there. So thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. And like I said, subscribe, follow, email us. You can see the website link below, kingdomstale.com. And like I said, we keep everything 100% visible. So we even have a price matrix on there of how much the development costs are, how much we're estimating to sell, how much money we're going to get back, all of the percentages that go to the publishers, to Steam, to Epic. All of that is in our price matrix to be public. So thank you. Have a good day.